My name is Mia DeMelli, and this is my case presentation on the commonly known couple, Derek and Meredith, from the show's Grey's Anatomy. So to get started, I would like to provide a brief overview and breakdown of Derek and Meredith's relationship. For those of you who have not seen the show, Derek and Meredith's relationship starts off as a one-night stand as complete strangers. Come to find out when Meredith starts work at the hospital that her one-night stand was actually her boss and that he is currently married. To say the least, the relationship starts off on pretty rocky terms. They both work at the hospital as doctors, Meredith barely starting and Derek being one of the top neurosurgeons there. The relationship eventually evolves over time into a deep connection. Their dynamic ultimately explores themes of trust, ambition, vulnerability, and balancing personal and professional lives in a high stress environment. So, as stated, the relationship starts off on rocky terms, and it seems this way for a while until later seasons when the relationship develops into something more mature. In the beginning, some common relationship patterns that are prevalent throughout the show include push and pull dynamic, commitment struggles, and emotional growth and repair. I will further dive into these themes later in my presentation, but here are just two examples of scenes in the show where we can see these relationship patterns. For starters, I will be analyzing Season 1, Episode 5, where Meredith discovers that Derek is actually her married boss, who she has an affair with, and her reaction and feeling towards him afterwards. I will also be specifically analyzing a Season 2 scene, Episode 27, where it highlights the emotional pull away or push and pull dynamic both of them endure throughout this relationship, making their pull away mutual, agreed upon, but unspoken. So, moving on, I will now be discussing the theoretical model I chose for Derek and Meredith's relationship. The model I chose to use was cognitive behavioral therapy. So why did I choose CBD? Well, CBT. Well, it's because Meredith and Derek show great lengths of cognitive distortions embedded in their minds from past experiences, such as Derek's past marriage, Meredith's past trauma of everyone always leaving her, etc., which is now prevalent in the relationship together. CBT specifically focuses on how personal thoughts, feelings, and behaviors interact with one another. In couples therapy, CBT helps identify and modify maladaptive cognitive and behavioral patterns that are eating away at relationships, much like we see in Derek and Meredith's. Some specific examples of these maladaptive behaviors I listed on the slide read that Meredith's deep down core belief is that she is not good enough, which causes her to pull away in the relationship. This brings up the factor of the push and pull dynamic I was discussing earlier. Moving on to Derek, his core belief is that he has to be perfect, otherwise he fails. This causes Derek to suppress a lot of his emotions and to withdraw to avoid certain aspects of the relationship, such as opening up and committing to Meredith fully. The negative pattern that is heavily prevalent throughout the relationship is the avoidant versus anxious attachment style that they are stuck in. Meredith has avoidant attachment style due to her past. She shuts down emotionally when overwhelmed, while Derek is anxious and constantly tries to make the situation perfect, and when he fails, he disconnects. This can be seen in Season 2, Episode 27, where Meredith discovers Derek is staying with Addison, which is Derek's current wife, and he won't leave her. Meredith becomes emotionally untethered. The scene is emotionally charged because it highlights Meredith's trauma-rooted in abandonment and emotional neglect, especially from her mother and emotionally unavailable father in her past. When Derek chooses Addison, Meredith feels discarded, even though he still clearly loves her. This creates the cycle of avoidant versus anxious attachment style as Meredith decides to pull away, leaving Derek ultimately to have to pull away as well. So, my next slide, I would like to dive into the assessment sections I would analyze for Meredith and Derek and my anticipated findings. Starting off, I would like to first go over what I would assess, starting with each of their core beliefs and cognitive distortions. Meredith's would sound something along the lines of, quotation marks, I'm not enough, or people leave me. Derek's would be, quotation marks, must fix others to be loved, and if I fail, I'm unworthy. The anticipated result for these beliefs would be high emotional reactivity triggered by these beliefs during stress/conflict events, causing avoidance, Meredith, and overcompensation, Derek. Next, I would like to look into their interaction patterns and triggers. The repeating cycle would probably look like along the lines of 1. Derek seeking emotional connection or control. 2. Meredith feels overwhelmed and then withdraws. 3. Derek interprets it as a rejection, which then escalates or retreats from Meredith. And then 4. Lastly, Meredith shuts down further, and the cycle just continues on and on and on. So that anticipated result would probably be emotional dysregulation, unresolved conflict, and increasing emotional distance despite the love and loyalty they have. So after that, I would dive deeper into their attachment styles, such as Meredith's, which is avoidant attachment. She fears vulnerability, struggles to express emotional needs. And then Derek, we have anxious attachment traits, which he seeks closeness, often at the cost of emotional boundaries. So these attachment patterns reinforce their core cognitive distortions that each of them have that lead to not fulfilling their emotional needs. So next, I would make a list of their relationship strengths and weaknesses to identify the good and the bad and how we could work on making their areas of concern turn into strengths in their relationship. So here's all of those ones I just previously went over. Again, I would go over first their core beliefs and cognitive distortions. Then I would go into their interaction patterns, attachment styles, relationship strengths, and areas of concern. Lastly, I would like to take into consideration and analyze their cultural, diverse, and power dynamics in their relationship. We see that right off the bat, there is this imbalance of power dynamics between Derek and Meredith due to them having an affair and Derek being Meredith's boss. This is prevalent in Season 1, Episode 5, where Meredith discovers that Derek is in fact her boss and is in fact married as well. Thus creates a built-in power imbalance, which follows into their relationship. They also have the same mindset in the sense of what they define love to be. Their jobs are very demanding and at high pace constantly, which means they are both influenced by the idea that true love means sacrifice. This may romanticize emotional suffering instead of a healthy connection, which we see a lot during their relationship. So next, I would like to implement a treatment plan for Meredith and Derek, the main goal being to break the negative thought and behavior cycle and increase emotional safety and trust within each other. The key treatment goals I would use would be 1. To identify and challenge maladaptive thoughts, 2. Improve emotional communication, especially vulnerability, and 3. Develop conflict repair strategies. So some techniques I would include to help them meet these goals would include cognitive restructuring. So like challenge thoughts like he'll leave me if I open up, or I can fix her if I'm failing. 2, I would do work with them on communication skills training, such as like practicing I feel statements, emotional labeling, or validation. And 3, I would give them each thought journals and trigger logs to track automatic thoughts and reactions during conflicts, so we could later go over them all together. So this slide is just a quick demonstration of some key intervention skills I would use in a situation with Meredith. To give specific context, Meredith in Season 3, Episode 15, falls into a large body of water due to a ferry accident and nearly drowns. She let herself drown in the water as a passive suicide attempt, rooted in long-term depression, and struggles with her self-worth. Derek finds her and pulls her out and is upset with himself that he didn't notice her missing sooner. Meredith pushes him away and does not want to discuss her feelings of depression or that she knew no one would notice her. So if Meredith was discussing this with me, she may state maybe like, I almost drowned and it didn't matter, her feelings towards that situation. I, working towards her goals, will want to reframe her core beliefs so I would reply with questions such as what evidence supports that thought, or maybe what would you do, or what would you say to a friend who felt this way, or maybe even could there be another way to interpret Derek's reaction. In the end, with Meredith's answers, I would hopefully get her to see that she matters more than she believes she does overall, reframing her original thought. Of that I almost drowned and it didn't matter, to he did come for me and save me. I matter more than I believe I do. So wrapping up, sorry, tongue twister. I would lastly like to state why CBT would be the best option for Meredith and Derek and why it would work. I believe CBT would be the best approach for the relationship due to these three main reasons. So why does CBT fit? So it's structured and goal oriented, and it appeals to both of their high achiever personalities. It encourages emotional literacy without the overwhelming emotional intensity, and it provides specific tools to break interaction cycles, such as anxious versus attachment cycle that they're currently stuck in. So now, CBT would be a good fit for Meredith and Derek. There are also some alternatives for them to try, such as emotionally focused therapy, which is better for processing attachment wounds. They could also try psychodynamic therapy, which uncovers unresolved early traumas, or maybe even narrative therapy, which rewrites personal and relational narratives. So these are all great choices regarding the circumstances and the main issues surrounding their relationship, which would also put them on the right track in their relationship and overall help their relationship. So overall, with commitment to CBT, this could really help Meredith and Derek break their negative cycles and develop a more emotionally balanced partnership.